You're right. I mean, I'm like a father figure to a lot of my guys because one thing I did accept to care about the fighters. At the end of the day, we had to protect the fighters, and the fighters come to that.
Why did Calvin Ford post that cryptic message on Instagram? At first, it didn't make sense. Those heavy words about suffering and convictions. But now, looking at Gervonta Davis' recent behavior, things are starting to click. Calvin, Davis's longtime trainer and mentor, seems to have reached a boiling point with Tank's new actions. You can't really blame him though. What's going on with Tank getting caught up in distractions when so much is on the line? From Tank announcing the fight was canceled, to the growing tension within his camp, and his public image crumbling faster than expected, it's getting messy. Let me explain.
Let me explain something to you. Tank don't look at me as coach, he look at me as dad. Do it look like his son supposed to be taking your dad? I don't even feel right.
Davis' fight with Lamont Roach Jr. was meant to be his opportunity to silence critics who claimed Roach was an easy target. Instead of solidifying his status, Davis seems to be unraveling. From smoking to high-profile social media posts that leave fans and opponents confused, it's been one questionable move after another. That's likely what's driving Ford crazy. He's the one trying to keep everything together, while Davis seems determined to tear it all apart. You know what I mean?
Roach, always, he come to fight, and I think it's a great fight. Everybody talking all that stuff about, oh, why Roach? Because he signed.
When Ford's cryptic post appeared, fans were left wondering, was it about Tank? Was it about the canceled fight, or something more personal? But now, with everything that's happened, it's hard not to see it as a frustrated mentor calling out his own fighter in the only way he could, without making things even worse publicly. And let's not forget, this isn't the first time Calvin Ford has had to deal with Tank's unpredictable behavior. Ford has always seemed like the patient guiding figure, trying to keep Tank focused. But patience wears thin, especially when millions of dollars, reputations, and legacies are at stake. This time, Ford's tone feels different. You feel me?
You understand? He watched me lose my house, my wife, my family. He watched me do it. It's bigger than boxing.
Right.
Boxing is just a
It could be that Tank posted the cancellation news while not sober, which actually makes more sense, right? After all, Roach didn't even know the fight was called off until Davis announced it on Instagram. Imagine training day and night for the biggest fight of your career, only to find out your opponent isn't even taking it seriously. Roach, of course, kept his composure on social media, saying, "I'm locked in, ain't changed," but you can't help but think he's just as confused as the fans. And speaking of fans, they're not holding back. Social media is buzzing with criticism. Some are defending Davis, saying he's under too much pressure, while others are blasting him for wasting his talent.
The last one at the gym. Tank used to sit on the ring like this and watch me train him.
How old is he at this point?
He was like 7, 8.
Okay.
A lot of stuff that I was giving my son.
Tank has all the tools to be the greatest, but he's out here playing games, one fan wrote. Another chimed in, "Why'd even bother with the fight if you're not going to take it seriously? Calvin should let him sink or swim." Ford's post seems to hint at a deeper frustration, maybe even disappointment. The words, "People often fail to comprehend my suffering," feel heavy, like he's been carrying Davis's baggage for far too long. Ford isn't just a trainer, he's been a father figure to Davis, guiding him from a troubled youth in Baltimore to becoming one of the biggest names in boxing. For someone like Ford, who's seen the worst of life, watching Davis waste opportunities must feel personal. You know Calvin, he's been with me since I was 7. I used to sleep at Coach Calvin's house. I used to sleep at his job when he was working at a seafood restaurant in Baltimore, Davis has said. But let's not forget the business side of things. A canceled fight doesn't just hurt Davis, it affects everyone involved, from promoters to sparring partners. Roach's camp is probably fuming right now, and PBC, the fight's promoters, have stayed silent, which only adds fuel to the fire. Tickets for the March 1st event are still being sold, raising the question, is the fight really canceled, or is this just another one of Davis' impulsive moves that he'll later walk back?
He been with me since I was 7. I used to sleep in Coach Calvin's house. I used to sleep at his job when he was working at seafood.
Interestingly, some fans believe this drama could actually work in Davis' favor. After all, Controversy sells. But at what cost? If Davis keeps burning bridges with his team, he might find himself in a lonely place when the spotlight fades. Fighters like Floyd Mayweather, who once mentored Davis, have already distanced themselves from him. How long before Calvin Ford does the same?
What's your best tank story?
My best tank story. Oh, when we used to go on the nationals, he used to get in their room and pour water. He still do that too. Pour water on them and run out the room while they sleep. I think I can't see the national.
Let's talk about this smoking situation. Davis' alleged smoking habit has been a hot topic among fans and insiders. It's no secret that boxing demands discipline and any distraction, especially one as damaging as substance use, can derail a career faster than a knockout punch. Ford, who's always preached hard work and focus, must feel like his words are falling on deaf ears. Imagine dedicating your life to shaping a champion, only to watch them throw it all away for temporary highs.
Another thing I want to touch on is the Floyd situation. You know, Floyd is Floyd. That's like I say, tank is tank, man. But at the end of the day, you know, the man is chasing greatness. And you should be supporting that. I always tell you that. You should be supporting that.
What's most surprising is how calm Ford's response has been, at least on the surface. That Instagram post could have easily turned into a full-blown rant, but instead it was measured, almost philosophical. Maybe that's Ford's way of sending a warning without stirring up more drama. But make no mistake, his patience isn't limitless. If Davis doesn't get it together soon, we might see Ford walking away, leaving Davis to face the consequences of his actions alone. It's a messy situation, and the fans are eating it up. The heat, the cryptic messages, the canceled fight. It's the kind of chaos that keeps people talking. But while the headlines might be entertaining, the reality for Davis and his team is far from it. Still, we can't deny one thing: controversy sells. Maybe this is just a way to promote Tank and sell his upcoming fight. After all, this wouldn't be the first time Calvin Ford has made heated comments about Tank. He recently even said he doesn't like how Tank knocks out his opponents. Clip. It's wild, right? Calvin Ford, the guy who's been in Tank's corner since day one, isn't into knockouts. He prefers drawn-out wars where opponents leave the ring battered, remembering the pain rather than the punch that sent them down. And yet, here we are with Davis, a knockout artist celebrated for his brutal finishes. It's almost ironic, but maybe that's the point. Think about it. Ford's recent comments about not being impressed with knockouts felt oddly timed, especially with all the chaos surrounding Davis right now. Is it just frustration, or is there something bigger at play? Maybe Ford is subtly trying to push Tank to evolve, to be more than just a highlight reel fighter. After all, Ford's old school. He values endurance, punishment, and gritty, grinded-out battles that leave a lasting legacy. In his eyes, knockouts might be flashy, but they don't tell the full story of a fighter's skill. Clip. And here's where it gets controversial. Some fans believe Ford's comments aren't just about boxing philosophy. They might be about power dynamics. Is this his way of reminding Davis who's really in charge? Ford has always been the steady hand guiding Tank's career. But with Davis' rising fame, it wouldn't be surprising if tensions are building beneath the surface. Publicly criticizing your star pupil, even in a roundabout way, sends a message. It's like saying, don't forget who got you here. But let's not overlook the possibility that this is all part of a wiser strategy. The more people talk about it, the more tickets sell. By downplaying Tank's knockouts, Ford might be stirring the pot, making fans even more curious about what's next. And Ford's stance on knockouts isn't just about Davis. It's a glimpse into his broader philosophy. He once shared a story about young Davis, terrified of the pro gloves and the idea of taking heavy hits, hesitating to go pro. That vulnerability, that fear, it's what makes Davis human. Ford didn't just teach him how to fight. He taught him how to channel that fear into something powerful. Clip. But here's the kicker. Despite all of this, Ford still seems conflicted about what Davis has become. He molded Tank into a knockout machine, yet he's not fully on board with it. Maybe it's because knockouts, while thrilling, are fleeting. They're moments, not stories. And Ford? He's all about the stories, the kind that stick with you, the kind where fighters leave the ring saying, Tank punished me. So where does this lead Gervonta? In a strange spot, honestly.